So here's the White Scars Librarian's Conclave and Chapter Master with crazy P Hammer Thunderfist with Lightning Shield straight out of Age of Sigmar, and then some bunch of librarians with various Mark IV and converted Grey Knight torsos. Got the sweet power axes. These are the Forge World Legion Outrider bikes. That's pretty. I like them. They're pretty dope. They're easy to work with, easy to paint. Super fun and exciting project. Got some leafs on the base there. Some Secret Weapon mini fall leafs. MAS Micro Art Studio Relic, or no, maybe it's Runic bases, I believe it's called, or Temple bases. Those are the Temple based ones, just because they're librarians. So pretty cool little project. Glad to wrap it up. Should see it on the tables here soon. A lot of people have a hard time with glazes, and glazes are actually really just thin down washes of acrylic paint. That it could be a wash, it could be just the paint itself. So I'm actually doing these Outrider bikers here, and I want to do a glaze, a darker glaze, to kind of bring back all that white, and kind of get some contrast in the cracks and things. So I airbrushed it starting with Badger Fur. So I'm literally just going to take this airbrush paint right here, pour a little bit out into my little palette here, which you may notice is the lid of water bottles. So always collect those as you drink them. Gets you a nice little collection of palettes. I learned that from Kenny Boucher. So we're gonna take that, basically put a little bit in there. Then we're gonna take a 3/4 mix water, 25% mix of Future Floor Wax itself. So it's gonna be a little bit shiny, but that's okay. It kind of helps it. I'm just gonna dump a bunch in here. Make a nice glaze. There really isn't any rhyme or reason. You just kind of want it thin. Mix it up. Then I'm gonna pull it out on this just to make sure. Looking a little thin there. Yep, you can kind of see through it. It's like a translucent glaze at this point. Not really a wash. More of a glaze there. Now the key to this is to keep crap from off your brush, because if you get little cat hairs and things like that on your brush, you're gonna really mess it up. So basically, I'm just gonna kind of hustle and just calmly put a bunch of this glaze onto the white surface here. Just trying to coat every surface. I'm using this chisel brush, this flat chisel brush, because I actually like these more than the quote-unquote wash brushes that Games Workshop sells. You can really see the detail getting down in there in that control panel area now. So we're gonna hit all that, and then once you hit all this stuff, you really want to go back and you want to work the glaze and make sure it's all pulling apart and not drawing in clumps or anything crazy like that, because you don't want any issues as far as that goes with it pooling or things like that. Now you're going to see some areas here where there is going to be a little bit of pooling. Bubbles are okay. Bubbles will flatten themselves out, but you see right here down at the end, you see that little spot right there. Like, I'm just going to pull that, just to make sure we not have any cat hairs, things like that in here. So it's looking good. I mean, for the most part, got a nice. You're gonna notice it's shiny because it is Future Floor Wax. It is wax you're supposed to put on the floor, but for the most part, it's pretty tight, and it's gonna create that contrast that I was looking for. Now I might make up a little darker batch and take a pointy brush, something like a line brush, something like this, and actually go in here with a darker batch of this stuff and just hit these little cracks right here, just like that. You can see it's kind of starting to fill it up. And what's nice about this sort of thing is too that you can just basically touch it and it'll come off the brush and actually get into the cracks. So it's great for like Space Marine armor and things like that if you want to take the time to go back and do it. I think on these bikes it's pretty pronounced, so I should address that area as soon as the glaze on the armor plating dries. I'll go back and hit those cracks. So that is basically how you do a glaze. Alright, for this one, I mixed up a little bit darker kind of glaze here with the Badger Fur. And what I'm going to do is get in those cracks I showed you earlier on the front of this bike, right there, because I really want to pronounce that contrast. So I waited for the rest of the bike to kind of dry, and now I'm just going to get in there with this fine detail brush and just kind of hit it. And you notice, like, basically it's just kind of like tracing. Like, you don't have to do a whole lot of work because The wash itself really just kind of goes in the cracks there. Now you can see it's definitely pronounced darker, and I got a little bit on the corner right there. And what's nice about that is, because it's so watery, I can just brush it away with my fingertip right there. So that's another pro tip for using glazes. You can mix them up as dark or as light as you want for whatever need you may have. Another good product for glazing is Secret Weapon Mini's Soft Body Black. This goes over pretty much any colors very well. You can use it out of the bottle. What I like to do is I like to thin it down using that Future Floor Wax mix we talked about a couple videos ago. It's super easy to use. Basically 3 parts water, 1 part actual Future Floor Wax. You can buy a big bottle of it. I've literally had the same bottle for 10 years or so. I don't use it that often. But what I like to do is use this to kind of thin down the material itself, like this soft body black, into a nice thin glaze. And what I'm going to do with this, you wouldn't actually think this would work well, but what I like to do with these is use them on reds. Kenny Boucher from Next Level Painting put me onto this. So here is a airbrushed back of the Outrider bike. And what I'm going to do is actually basically coat it just like I was doing with the guys, the front of the motorcycles that were white, using the Badger fur, but I'm actually using Secret Soft Body Black on this, and you can see there that it's kind of pretty much doing the same thing, just getting in there, just coating everything nice and neat. And then of course it's going to be a little shiny because it takes a while to dry, and it does have wax in there, but what it's going to do is really give it that contrast, that depth that's really hard to do with red, because red is such a crazy color to work with. And then you can see that it's already worked its way inside those grooves right there and around the little nubs, the little studs, and all sorts of different things on the little piece itself there. So we're gonna hit all of these and then let it dry, and that should be about all I'm gonna need to do to finish up these parts right here. So super easy way to get inside. Oh, and another thing this is really great for is when you detail out your eyeballs. You can see here on these guys that I have done the two colors, a darker red and then a lighter red. And what I'm going to do is just literally take my fine detail brush here, and I'm just going to literally just go in here and just hit it with a dot. Because it's going to expand to the corners of the eyes right there, and then basically now I've basically done all the work I need to do. I've shadowed the eyeball all with just a drop of some wash from my paintbrush here. So it's good to use for eyeballs as well, unless you want to take it up a little bit higher. But right there you can see it's got in all the corners of the eye socket. It's really done all that work that a lot of brush strokes would take to emulate. So don't work harder, work smarter. Use glazes.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.